Hi, everybody. Steve Layman here, and this is the Corley Quarterly presented by First Bank. And as always, we are joined by Belmont Athletics Director Scott Corley. Scott, how you doing? It is the start of the second semester, right in the middle of basketball season. How do you feel about the way things are going right now?
It's going well. It's a fun time. Obviously, students, as the day of this taping, the students are back physically on campus, going to classes. I think the first 2 weeks being online, I think was a good decision at the time. And hopefully all the stuff we're navigating related to COVID will calm down. It's obviously been a little bit of a challenge at times during the basketball season, but we're all making do, and both teams are playing really well in basketball. So very encouraging. Just good to get everybody back. I mean, the campus is so much better when the students are around, and it just brings an energy to the campus.
Well, college campuses are supposed to have students on them, that's for sure. And boy, was it great to see some of those students, after they moved back in on Saturday, fill up the Curb Event Center for the men's and women's games against Murray State. And one of these days, I hope we are no longer talking about COVID, but clearly it's still an issue now, Scott. We've seen multiple games postponed, both men and women just playing games on Monday, what they won from rescheduled games. Where do we stand right now in terms of COVID, in testing for athletics, for scheduling for these events? And what do you think the outlook is for the next couple of months?
I think we're all just trying to adapt as well as we can. We can make adjustments. We can do things to get games in. And if it's not COVID, we've also had to deal with some weather issues. So, everybody's challenged, but I'm really proud of my team and all the people that have pulled together to put these games on, from our event service staff to the security to, there's so many layers to putting a game on that people don't realize. And everyone kind of has banded together and making sure we can get these games played.
Yeah, Scott, how resilient have your coaching staff and your players been through all this? Because like you, I think a lot of us were hoping back at the beginning of basketball season or the beginning of the school year that this year COVID wouldn't be an issue. We've got the vaccine, we've got testing, things like that we'd be able to play sort of scot-free this year. That's certainly not the case, but how have they responded through the adversity?
I think really well. I think we've got some mentally tough student athletes and great leadership. I mean, it starts with great leadership as coaches. The student athletes will, they'll follow their example. Coaches understand what we're trying to navigate through. I'm sure they're frustrated, but at the same time sympathetic. And so I think that translates to our student athletes. I think they're grateful when they get to play a game because they see other teams not getting to play. And so I think it's brought them closer together. And, if anything, I think we learned last year that, you're going to have different challenges regardless of the journey in your season. And this year's no different. But we've got experienced athletes, student athletes on both programs that are also leading by example. So I'm really proud of them.
This has been a basketball season on the men's side that may be the most anticipated in the history of Belmont. Certainly they had a great start to the non-conference. They stand 14-4 overall. I know everyone was disappointed with the performance on Saturday against Murray State, but the bounce back at Southern Illinois Edwardsville behind a triple-double from Grayson Murphy on Monday. Where do you see this team right now compared to what the expectations were at the beginning of the season, Scott?
This team they know they've got high expectations on them from our fan base and others. And I think they're extremely hungry after what's happened these past 2 years where, they qualified for the tournament and then the tournament was canceled. And then last year, 26-4 and don't get an invite to either the NCAA or NIT. And so they're hungry. Obviously the game against Murray was sobering and a little bit of a wake-up call. And I did like the response 2 days later. And that's, I guess, if there's any good thing about a makeup game, it allows you to focus on the next game. And so, but I expect these guys to be ready to play night in and night out. I think Murray came in, you got to give them credit. They were the better team. They shot it incredibly well, and we did not play well. And so that's going to unfortunately happen, and you try to minimize the times that happened. But, certainly nothing changes with that Murray loss. We have a lot to be excited about. we get a chance to go into their place and get the W. And if so, that puts us back on even ground. And right now, both programs are fighting for the potential for an at-large bid. So that should keep our guys very focused.
Yeah, both of those teams in the top 41 of the net ranking as of this point, which would certainly be an at-large position. And of course, the payback game is February 24th at Murray. Make sure to have that on your calendar. The men's race is going to be exciting. I don't want to put too much pressure on Bart, but I've looked around the OVC and I've watched them in this unbeaten start. I don't know who touches that team if they play up to their potential.
You're right, Steve. I mean, if they're playing at their expected level of play, they can beat you so many different ways. And Bart just does such a great job leading those young women and keeping them focused and not getting too high and not getting too low. I mean, they had a brutal non-conference schedule that a lot of coaches and players, could come out of that pretty bruised and not feeling very confident. And instead, Bart's got a great way of using those games as learning experiences. And they know and we know that it's only going to make you better when you get into conference play, and you're seeing some of that.
Scott, now let's take a little bit of a look back. We'll hit the rewind button into the fall season and such success on a lot of different fronts. Let's start with cross country, where the women are OVC champions. The men had a great season as well, finishing second with 4 all-conference members. What a season for them.
Yeah, it really was. I'm very proud of them. The women faced some adversity early in the season with some injuries and some things like that. And, they pulled it together and just ran an amazing race to get that first OVC championship. And the men really battled. Eastern Illinois was a great, cross-country team. They were going to be hard to beat. And I know we're never satisfied with second place, but that was a great showing for them as well.
You guys have really kind of built a men's soccer power on the pitch over there. Program record for wins this fall and another conference championship appearance.
Yeah, David Costa, has just done an amazing job in his 3 years here of really changing the direction of that program. I'm excited. The future is very bright under David's leadership.
And as we all know, there's a lot to recruit to at Belmont, so he's got a pretty easy sell to reload that thing for the men's soccer program. The women's soccer team, great season, went right down to the wire on a conference regular season championship in the number 1 seed. And I guess to kind of lump it together in some of the women's sports, do you feel like women's volleyball is starting to turn the corner for you a bit as a fall sport as well?
I do, Steve. I'm really excited what Caitlin's doing. We're starting to see the results of a couple years of her recruiting, bringing in the players that she wants to bring in. But I was very proud of the seniors. It was a very senior-laden team. And, they fought through a lot of adversity in their 4 or 5 years here and really have the program on much better footing. And in women's soccer, Heather Henson just does a great job with consistency. It was unfortunate we didn't get the number 1 seed, but the number 3 seed was the highest we've had in the OVC. And we've got a lot of positive things going on in the fall sports overall. So I was really, really pleased.
All right, now let's hit the fast forward button. Move ahead to the spring a little bit. A lot of action there.
Mauricio has done such a great job as director of tennis. I think the men's, he was able to get some earlier success with the men versus the women. But now he's brought in some really, really high recruits on the women's side. So I think the expectation is both programs should be competing for a championship this year. Laura Matthews in softball going into her second year. I mean, she's building a really strong culture and bringing back some quality players. And in softball, if you've got good pitching, you're going to be pretty competitive, and she's got good pitching. Dave Jarvis, just such a great leader, and the consistency that he shows. I think they're going to be extremely disappointed if they're not competing for a championship. They got a good mix of veteran talent coming back, mixed with some good young up-and-coming players. And I know he was extremely disappointed at how the season played out last year, so I expect them to be refocused and ready to go. And you can go down the list. I mean, men's and women's golf, we've got great leaders there that are continuing to build momentum. Try not to leave out anybody. Track and field, I mean, you name it. They're poised to do it. And one of our goals as we leave the OVC and is we would love to win the All Sports Trophy. We've never done it. We've come in second place, 1 year by half a point. Right now we're in fifth place, but we're only 5 points, I think, behind the leader. So if everybody can do their part, it'd be nice, and it'd be a great way to go out of the OVC.
A lot of interesting times in college athletics, that's for sure. Certainly that's the case with Belmont. You're going to make the move next July 1 to the Missouri Valley Conference after a decade in the OVC. Obviously, this move announced early September, so we've all known it's been coming for a little while, but what's the process been like, and what are you logistically working through right now, Scott?
Well, it's been great. It's been so well received by our fan base, and they're excited about having us. That's the other thing. I mean, it's been pretty unanimous. They're all excited to have Belmont join, and so that's a good feeling.
Scott, you talked about the response from your donors and people who help you with resources and all that, but it's a significant increase in investment to go to the Missouri Valley Conference. Where do you stand with that right now in terms of what you need to do? I don't know about facilities on campus necessarily. You're pretty good there, I think. But in terms of the investment to even just travel around the conference to get to games, and from a broadcasting standpoint or a fan standpoint, they understand what it's been like in the OVC with ESPN Plus for every single game within the conference. What's the setup for that within Missouri Valley?
We're well positioned, Steve, just to be honest with you, because of, again, a lot of good donor support, a lot of university support. The Board of Trustees was very supportive of the move, so they understand the needed investment. I know I've got the support of President Greg Jones, and he understands that, as he has said many a times, we're not making the move in the Missouri Valley to be mediocre. We're making the move with the understanding that we want to compete for championships, and that's the game plan.
We hope there's a lot of more fun memories coming up. But Scott, I thought one that was really cool over the weekend, Coach Bird back on the court that bears his name. Of course, he was inducted into the Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame back in November. But to see a full crowd in the curb on their feet cheering for Coach Bird once again, that may have been the highlight of my season so far, actually.
Well, it's always great to honor him, and he deserves every honor that we give him. And to get inducted into the College Basketball Hall of Fame, that alone is worth celebrating. And then to know he's going to be awarded the John Wooden Coaching Award in April, it just made too much sense to get him back and let the people show their appreciation for him. The university's going to award a Rick Bird Character Award to a member of the Nashville community once a year that demonstrates a lot of coaches' leadership qualities and character. And then we're going to be announcing the Rick Bird Leadership and Character Program on campus. So it's going to be within the College of Business, along with our sports administration program, and we're still working out the details, but Coach Bird will be very involved in figuring out what that looks like, what the curriculum looks like. But we want to expose as many of our students on campus to Coach Bird and the qualities that led to his success in leading a program for 33 years. So I'm extremely excited to announce that here on this Corley Quarterly.
No better namesake, that's for sure. A great honor indeed, and so many people will be affected by that moving forward, I'm sure. Scott, we appreciate the time. Look forward to catching up with you more this spring, and hopefully have a lot of really, really cool things to talk about, from the basketball court to the field, the track, and all those places.
Well, Steve, thanks so much. I always enjoy doing this. And to the Bruin Nation, appreciate all your support. You guys have been amazing. We need you more than ever this basketball season, because there's a lot to accomplish. And anytime we can get a home crowd and the curb rocking, it always makes our chances that much better. So thanks to Bruin Nation, and Steve, thanks again.
Scott Corley, Belmont Athletics Director. Bruin fans, we'll see you at the Curb Event Center coming up soon. And this has been Corley Quarterly, presented by First Bank.